Today we are joined by two special guests from Kaplan International Pathways, and we'll be exploring how Kaplan International College Adelaide is helping Indian students to seek admissions in Australia's prestigious Group of 8 universities. So please help me in welcoming Tom Dunlop and Alex Adjani. So first we have Tom Dunlop, please.
Thank you, Priyanka. Pleasure to be here with you. Great to chat with you this morning and be on this Australia Beckons podcast with you. My name is Thomas Dunlop and my friends all call me Tom, so I'm glad you're doing that already. I have the privilege of being the General Manager for Global Student Recruitment across Kaplan International Pathways, Australia and New Zealand division, and that is responsibility for recruitment to 4 wonderful university partners, including Adelaide University.
Thank you very much. We also have Alex Adjani. Alex, can we have your introduction, please?
Thank you, Priyanka. So, my name is Alex. Like Tom, very happy to be in India. Always a treat to come back here, and also a privilege to be in this podcast together with you. I'm Senior Manager for Global Engagement and Partnerships, specifically with Kaplan International College Adelaide. And although that's a very, very long title, it really, in essence, is just talking about the college, championing it, and bringing the message across to students around the world, including Indian students as well. So making sure that they understand what the college stands for and what we offer in Adelaide with the college as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Without much ado, let's just begin with the questions. So Tom, I'll start with you. I just wanted to know what is the long-term strategy for the Indian market, since Kaplan is kind of making its way.
Yeah, globally too, not just in Australia, and I think beyond Kaplan as well. Every single institution that is operating in the international student recruitment space is looking to India, either as a source of international students of significant volume or as a destination for their deepening partnerships and transnational campuses. And that's certainly 2 spaces that Kaplan continues to look at. We've had a really interesting journey over the last 20 plus years in Australia in our partnership with Adelaide University, but specifically for the last 4 or 5 years through the COVID experience and since the ending of the pandemic, we have had incredible success deepening our relationship with India as a source market. Prior to COVID, it was certainly an important market, but one that wasn't of a significant volume to us. In a very short space of 3 or 4 years, it's become one of our top sending markets, and we have a beautiful, diverse group of Indian international students who are making themselves at home in our college and in Adelaide, and we are very much committed to continuing to deepen this relationship and grow it into the future. We have invested in India as a market. We have a global operation here. I think the local office has about 140 staff supporting the global Kaplan network. Alex and I only have about 4 or 5 team members within that, but we are continuing to grow that team and commit to this market. And they are an incredible team of experts that we have the pleasure of working with locally.
Thank you. That's interesting. I'm told that there is a transformation in the kind of students who are applying in the foreign universities, and we have an increased focus on tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4 students. So what is your take on that? Are they more interested in taking admissions in Australia's universities?
I would say just as interested as their tier 1, tier 2 city counterparts. They all access information in the same way, on the same platforms. They have the same aspirations and desires. They're all future focused. They want to land a good job and be successful and hopefully pay back that university loan that got them there in the first place. I don't think there is a differentiation anymore between tier 1 versus tier 4 city students and their aspirations, but it's how can we enable them to achieve those same aspirations. And I think one of the most compelling things about Kaplan International College Adelaide and pathways more broadly is the ability for students from a lower demographic city like a tier 3 or tier 4 city. I won't name any because I will definitely say them wrong, but Coimbatore, I believe, is one such city. Kaplan International College Adelaide is a way for them to access a prestigious Group of 8 university of the highest academic quality without compromising on that quality at a price point that is much more reasonable and accessible for them.
That's interesting.
And I think, Priyanka, the thing there, enablement is the key word, right? So whereas a lot of students from those cities miss out on direct entry into the group of 8 universities, for example, this is where Kaplan International College comes in. We provide them with an alternative pathway into those universities without losing quality. So we prepare them in such a way that they're looked after emotionally, academically, and psychosocially, so that they will be able to thrive in that demanding study environment at the leading university in Australia. So
Would you
really
like
just
to elaborate
enablement.
on why would they miss out on the opportunities?
There's many ways for them to miss out. So a lot of times, Group of 8 university may not consider other qualifications. Sometimes it's just not the focus for recruitment as well. For Kaplan, we have a wider reach in terms of market. We look at all sorts of possibilities. We go into tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well to focus. So on a different level, they miss out on the opportunity to gain admission. So, and that's where we come in. We reach those students where normally universities won't reach, and if they're not able to meet direct entry requirements, we prepare them for it and get them access without sacrificing quality.
Okay. What makes KIC Adelaide different from the University of Adelaide College?
Well, this is really a transformation. Not so much as breaking down whatever foundation we built the college on. It's really about looking at what worked in the past and reimagining what we could be so that we'll be able to meet the needs of students moving forward as well as the future workforce needs. And a lot of the driver for that transformation as well is our partner university. So as a result of the merger of the University of South Australia and the University of Adelaide, Adelaide University is going to start operation 2026, and it's going to be a really different university with real focus on employability, and student experience. And that's why we want to be aligned with the university partner we've got and in preparation for the students to be successful in that ecosystem. So while it's not wildly different, it's different in a way because the focus has shifted into the future, into alignment with the university that we've partnered with over the last 20 years, and in areas that's really important for students as well. So in employability for one, families don't just send the children out just to get a degree. It's about investing in their future. And for us, we want to honor that investment to make sure that they're graduate ready as well and able to capture opportunities after that.
And it's quite unusual for us. So
Yeah.
I think in the traditional pathways space that Kaplan operates within, it's quite unusual for operators to be investing in employability opportunities the way that we have chosen to through the launch of our rebranded college. We have at every level of study embedded experiences like Employability Week, we call it, and we are giving students the formal opportunity to access career fairs where hundreds of employers will literally come on campus and be available to meet with students. A very tangible example of connecting with local industry and beginning to build those relationships. And we're also embedding what we call Kaplan Graduate Success Skills. And these are 7 very specific skills that a student who chooses to go through a Kaplan journey or a Kaplan college can take a tangible certificate with them into their university career and beyond. So we're trying to give students very real, physical, tangible tools that they can take with them and be set up for better success.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's actually quite important for Indian students because they're aspirationals, but they have to gauge, they have to understand the market, they have to really realize what offers are in store
Correct.
for them.
And part of that evolution as well is looking at the changing demographics of our student. Like in
Yeah.
our discussions in this morning, we're heavily led by a Chinese demographics in the past, and our services and academic structure were all towards that one market. So as South Asia and India becoming more prominent members of our academic community, we have to actually transform and make sure that what we offer is tailored for various demographics that we've got. One of them would be the Indian students, and academic quality and the demands of studies as well. In the past, we are heavily academic in such a way that students are locked up in tutorials and teaching classes for hours on end. And they do
Day after
tutorials day after day. But a lot of them, with the Indian students, they're coming at such a high level of attainment that they don't need a lot of hand-holding academically. So often that teaching, the main lecture is enough, and they don't have to spend tutorials for another 2 hours. Well, but we've changed that as part of the transformation. Instead of making it mandatory for students to attend those tutorials, we make it now student-led. So when a student feels that they have a grasp of the subject matter, they're able to not do that. So that frees up their time to pursue other interests. And if the student feels like they need extra help, they could access those support as well and book in an extra tutorial with the teachers at no extra cost for them.
So, any average student who is planning to study in Australia, how do you think that student should be preparing for the entire process, and how significant this launch would be for them?
This launch is significant for them because then we put the students at the center of everything we do. From our experience, we look at our successes in the past, and a lot of those successes came because we have prioritized the student needs in that regard, right? So this launch made that really, really clear from the very beginning. They are part of the university community from day one. We touch our students as soon as they accept their offer. We conduct pre-departure sessions for them as well to make sure that they're arriving ready. We tell them about what to prepare, what to pack, what clothes to wear, depending on the seasons that they're coming into. So we educate them. It's a soft landing for them in Adelaide because a lot of that is the students are anxious of leaving their family, leaving the familiarity of home, and we would like to be there for them as well. So in terms of the impact on our Indian students too, we tell them about all the services they could access. One of that is the Study Adelaide job shop, which is really good because we know our Indian students would like practical experience in Australia. It's not so much as money, but it's about building networks within the workforce as well. So when they're ready to graduate, they have people to call on for references. So we introduce them to Study Adelaide's job shop. Often they can find part-time jobs before they leave and prepare their CVs, and we make sure that they're looked after when they arrive as well.
I would say 4 words: say yes and lean in. And that is, don't be sitting there. You get your offer in hand, maybe for 3 or 4 competing countries, let alone institutions within one country. It is then on the onus is then on the offer holder to lean in and chase the opportunities and say yes, and don't be fearful of saying yes to things, because that's the only way that they're going to open up the true scale of a study abroad opportunity and every beautiful piece of that journey that they will have access to, and take advantage of all the support services that we have on offer. If they don't feel comfortable yet connecting with our professional staff because we feel a bit too serious or a bit too strange to them, we have current students from India who are very willing to connect with their peers who are going to go on a similar journey to what they've already experienced. That feels more familiar. And do your research. You've got to lean in and start taking a bit of responsibility for this very serious journey that's ahead of you. Mum and dad are making a very significant investment. You know this better than anyone, with your son securing his opportunity at NYU. I mean, that's not to be taken lightly. And yeah, I think that's...
And that leaning into reminded me that there are so many touch points that the students could access the college with, and reminded me of Vivek Handa, one of our current student ambassadors. He was from India. He studied degree transfer with us, one of our programs, and he's now in the university. So he was so happy with his experience with us, and he also realized that there's a lot of things in his head as an international student that he would like to share for the incoming students as well, specifically for India. And he's happily now our ambassador. So he could be reached through our ambassador platform, where potential students and incoming students could actually reach out and say, I'm looking for an accommodation, for example, what's your advice? Or if they just want to touch base with Vivek to understand how his experience has shaped his journey in Adelaide and all the choices that he's made. So he's made himself available for that, because he's had such great experience during his studies with us and now enjoying success at Adelaide University. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're very lucky, if I can add on, in Australia, that we have in each state and territory that recruits international students, we have what we call destination market organisations, DMOs, and these are, they're not private, they're publicly funded, and they represent the state institutions that are recruiting international students. Particularly in the state of South Australia and Adelaide, I think we have the world's best destination marketing organisation, and they are called Study Adelaide. And they have spent a lot of time and a lot of money creating many useful resources for international students to help them understand, what does this journey mean for me? What are my next steps? What are the really practical implications that I need to be thinking about, as well as the longer term, bigger picture pieces? World-class Study Adelaide, and they offer support from the job side of things to building a sense of community and a sense of belonging in your new home for the next 3 or 4 years. So we're very lucky.
And every key intakes, they're at the airport welcoming new international students. So they'll be there. If somebody is arriving and still overwhelmed with anxiety, they have goodie bags for them. And I think goodie bags is secondary. It's that welcoming, smiling face when they say, welcome, you're here. And they always make sure that there's a variety of students welcoming new ones and across many demographics as well. India, South Asia, Bangladesh, and all that, they're all covered. So really great, world-class service from our state.
And I think it speaks to what Adelaide is really well known for as well. We are often ranked as one of the best student cities in the world, if not one of the most happiest and friendliest cities in the world. And I think that really begins when our wonderful Indian students are still sitting here in India and they receive their letter of offer. That sense of friendship and welcoming starts to come into things.
Perfect. That sounds interesting. So may I just shift the course of questions? And we would also like to touch upon the geopolitical disruptions. We can't keep ourselves away from what is happening across the globe. And that actually changes the way students look at any country for study abroad destinations, particularly Indians who are quite rooted in what is happening across the globe. How do you look at it? How do you think Australia has emerged as a preferred choice because of a lot of things happening in the US and the UK and many other parts of the world? So Tom, would you like to? Yes.
Yeah, Priyanka, I think that's the elephant in the room for any family thinking about traveling on a holiday, let alone investing such a significant sum of money for an extended period of time.
And the safety of the student.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it would be ignorant if we didn't address the mixed messages that the Australian government has been sending to the Indian student community and the international student community over the last 24 months. You know, we reopened after COVID and we our government very quickly enacted a suite of incentives and policies to attract a large volume of international students back to Australia. And the result of that was a public backlash domestically within Australia against perceptions around negative implications that were playing out in the Australian economy and Australian society. We're facing a housing crisis, we call it. I think many Western destinations are. And international students have been the unfairly blamed scapegoats that are the easy face of that crisis. And it's just simply not true. Our sector, our industry has done the research to investigate that. But then you have the outside of Australia, the broader implications of the second election of the Trump government and the messages that he is sending out and his government is sending out to students, the Canadian government and their own experience over the last 2 or 3 years, the very real caps that are in place and are restricting the number of international students that can go to Canada, the college closures and the very well-reported backlash around all of that. And then the UK, they're also navigating a very fluctuating policy environment. And this is, if I was an international student trying to navigate this, I would feel uncertain. And I can understand now why there is such a big shift of students away from these traditional Big Four, what we refer to as the Big Four destinations for international students. And you've got incredible numbers of students going to Germany and Europe and even Japan. And there's a trend that we're referring to as the Eastern Winds, which is where you have a lot of East Asian universities in Hong Kong and Korea and across Southeast Asia that are picking up international students that would have traditionally gone to Canada, the US, UK and Australia. The positive in all of this is that I think we're through the worst of it. I think the Australian government has been very clear with its intention, and we have introduced what's referred to as the National Planning Levels, NPL. And the National Planning Levels, very simply put, is a stated, publicised total number of new international students who can come to Australia. And that is divided by sector. And the higher education sector that Alex and I operate within, we understand the number that we have to work with next year. Every institution that recruits international students understands that. And so the responsibility shifts to us as a recipient of international students to clearly articulate and communicate with our incoming students all of the policy rules and regulations that they will be navigating, and we have to be really proactive in supporting them to navigate what is a really uncertain and confusing environment. And if anything, they have my sympathies. I was an international student, and it was a much easier time a long time ago.
Absolutely.
When I navigated that. And I feel a lot of sympathy for families that are navigating this terrifying environment. It's so confusing.
So you think it's a tough time for international students, or do you think it is like there's more to explore for them?
I think the glass is half full, and it's a true world of opportunity right now, but it may not be the opportunity for those traditional destinations that have always relied on these big volumes from, say, China or India and other important source markets. I think the landscape is shifting dramatically, and there's now something like 15 non-Big Four destinations that are picking up material volumes of international students in a way that they haven't before. There's also the safety piece, and you brought this up in one of your earlier answers, and I would hope that Australia continues to shine as a safe and welcoming destination for international students, in spite of any uncertainties that they might be feeling in relation to the policy environment.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think that is a lot of information for students who are planning to visit Australia. They want to take up this. So, Alex, I would like to know, because the focus is on Australia and Kaplan is doing so much, what are the things that are differentiating, and what are the benefits that students would have from the new model that Kaplan is offering?
Yeah, no, great question. I think because we've put the students at the center of everything we did when we were reimagining the college, all of those services are now more student-centric, not just as a broad student group, but also diving deeper into the demographics at the college that we have. So that means tailoring our support services to each individual student's country of origin, for example, in India. So what's different now with Student Experience Week and the Student Experience Framework that we have at the college is all those activities have been combined into one sensible framework. And they're not just activities that the students do, they actually are intentional, with the focus of transforming them from anxious, overwhelmed students arriving at our doors for the first time into confident learners as they go through our doors. So that means they start to build network, they start to feel that they belong. Instead of feeling like they're just visitors, they feel as one community. And that's the real basis of it. Because our ethos is that if a student has all those anxiety at the back of their head, if they're not looked after as a whole person, they may not be able to thrive academically. So our focus has always been providing a welcome sort of environment for the students. A lot of our students describe it as a warm hug, or as a coming home sort of thing. On their way to the college, they often feel like, have I made the right choice? Why am I here? But the moment they step through the college doors, they feel different. They change that sort of perception, because our team have always put students the center of it all and assist them in any way they could. Even our teachers are willingly putting their name forward when the student needs referees for their accommodations as well. So they should put my name down, I'm happy for that. Or if a student wants to reach home and they don't know where to get their SIM cards and all that, our college services staff will walk with them to the retailers to get their SIM cards and get them sorted. So, and in all that way as well, because we want to look after them as a whole person, they could access counseling services on campus. And because we know that the students nowadays, that this generation is not say averse, but face-to-face conversation will be the last recourse. We're always on the apps and all that. So we have a 24/7 welfare app that the students can access for free. And it's a really great one, because it's not a bot that's sort of running it. It's actual professionals at the back end. So there's nurses, doctors, psychologists that the students can access. They can start with a chat and say, hey, I'm missing home. What strategies can I have? I want to cope with this better. And that starts often with the conversations with the app. They chat through that, and they could then, if they've gained confidence, they could elevate that into sort of face-to-face sessions with counselors. And the unique thing that we've got is that we have this dual campus experience for the students. Whereas from day one, when they set up with us, they're already part of the Adelaide University community. They will hold the student ID, and that student ID card will get them access to everything the university has to offer. So that's social clubs, rooms, facilities, teaching spaces, and everything that they could do. But they also have a safe haven at the college. So while they're finding their feet, while they're developing their confidence to explore the big wide world of Adelaide University, they're in our college campus gaining competency, gaining confidence, and building their network. And often when they land, they find friends and they can just decide to explore the big wide world together, and that makes a real difference, because without the college they will be thrown into this big university ecosystem, and a lot of students feel lost in that experience because often it's too big. When a student is already overwhelmed with so many things, for them to actually find lecture halls or go for services or find support, it's so difficult for them. So if they come to a college that sort of nurtures them from day one,
Yeah.
and builds their confidence and prepares them better to be
Perfect.
successful.
Priyanka, I think the merger of UniSA, University of South Australia, and Adelaide University, that has forced this whole journey upon Alex and I and our colleagues at Kaplan to rebrand an existing college, University of Adelaide College, that was well known to many education agents and counsellors and students and families, into what is now Kaplan International College Adelaide, has made us rethink the entire student journey. And it's not just an academic rethink, it's everything that Alex just articulated around, mental health support and the social side of things, because that's very much a day-to-day part, a big day-to-day part of a student's experience. The academics are actually only a small portion of their everyday when they're with us in Adelaide. And I think post-COVID, one of the observations we've had around mental health is this real surge in a need from students for us to be better supporting them, and that's really come out. We have also rethought the academics though. And so we've taken this as an opportunity to enhance our portfolio. We have all of the traditional offerings that you would expect from a pathway college, no surprises there. We have foundation, we have degree transfer, we have pre-masters, but we've also introduced a brand new program called an Express Preparation Program, or an EPP. And long story short, it is a short duration foundation for students who don't necessarily need a full one, but they just missed out on the direct entry piece. So it's a 1 trimester, 4-month program, 4 units. 6-month program, 4 units. 6-month program, 4 units. It's so new that I'm still learning. And I think it really addresses a need that we've identified for the new age of international students who are looking at coming to Australia in 2026. So we've had to rethink the entire meaning of what Kaplan International College Adelaide is.
Perfect.
Correct. And if I may add as well to one other key point of difference, a lot of students may not know, but I think it's an education piece. When they're looking at entry into a university, a lot of our Indian students don't necessarily need foundation. They go into what we call degree transfer. And it's not a familiar term. People are more familiar with it being called diploma. Why we call it degree transfer is that it's a specific pathway to a particular degree. So a diploma is generic. A student could study science and maybe study science subjects within it. Degree transfer, though, is, for example, a common one for the Indian student would be to do a degree transfer in engineering, and they identify an engineering field, mechanical, for example, and they will enroll with us, and we offer them degree transfer Bachelor of Engineering, Mechanical Engineering honors. So it's so specific, the particular pathway, that in the first year of their studies with us, they're actually studying the same exact courses that they would study if they've gained direct entry with the university. The only difference with the degree transfer is we give them additional courses to make sure that their academic achievement, they're familiar with the Australian learning system, and we teach them critical thinking skills, academic writing and all that, to make sure they're prepared better for their year 2. All they need to do is pass year 1, and then they go into the university for the second year with full credits given for that first one, for the first study year. So very popular with the Indian students as well with degree transfer.
So any particular reason that most of the Adelaide courses are STEM programs, and what about those students who who are in non-STEM courses? Do you have
Well,
any?
we're partnered with a comprehensive university. There's 400 degrees on offer across many disciplines. STEM is a very strong focus of the university. It's where a lot of the top 50 world ranked subjects are in and delivered as well. But I think organically, because the Indian students
Are more inclined.
are more inclined to engineering and tech fields. We see a lot of them in there. But recently, from last 2 years, I've noticed a big increase in the health and medical sciences where the students come through. In fact, Vivek was doing that when he came to us. And the thing though is that because it's such a comprehensive suite of offering, there's always one program that will benefit the interest or the inclination of a particular student, and we're happy to support that. So foundation studies will get them access to majority of those programs. Degree transfer, which is very popular for Indian students, could get them access to health and medical sciences, engineering, arts, and a lot more. Adelaide is growing tech hub. So we have Lot 14 just across the university, and it's an incubator for many things. So creative arts, we have Amazon there, and the state is the host to Australian Space Agency. So if a student wants to study astrophysics, they could. If they want to study business, they can. We have a business faculty that runs real-time financial market labs where students could look at how stocks perform in real time and then do models and do that. So it's not just within STEM. Any inclination that the student have, the university and the college work hand in hand to make sure that students are prepared to capture opportunities from all those.
So there's pretty much everything for everyone.
Everything for everyone, from arts to law to astrophysics.
And Priyanka, if I may go back to the geopolitical question,
Yes.
I mentioned the NPL, the national planning levels, in part of my response, and the Australian government has been very clear in articulating how many new international students they want to come into Australia, but they've also given indications around what they want them to be studying. And they are linked to skill shortage areas in Australia and much of the West. It just so happens a wonderful match for the Indian market. A lot of those fields are STEM fields because Australian domestic students simply aren't going to university in the same way that international students are. And they're not studying these skill shortage areas. So we need STEM qualified, wonderful graduates from our university system to step into these opportunities.
So I think you would recommend the Indian students to keep an eye on what exactly the Australian government is recommending. So that will make their stay worth it. Yes.
And Study Adelaide does a good job in highlighting those. There's a recent economic modelling by the Department of Trade in South Australia, and there's a need for 60,000 jobs that's going to be created as a result of those incubators growing. And the modeling is that we don't have the current capacity to fill all those 60,000 places. And I think it would be worthwhile. All skills.
We don't have the Aussies to do it.
So it's good for students to keep an eye on that. And when I have my interaction with students at the college, I always say it's great that you're aiming for international qualification. What would make it even better if you have an international work experience. And those post-study work rights is a really great thing for them to take advantage as well. Not so much to stay, but they make them more attractive as future employees because they have international education, they have international work experience, and that makes them even more marketable as candidate.
So in the same context, would you like to touch upon the visa policies that the Australian government has imposed? And we are also coming across sporadic cases of racist attack on students, on international students, not particularly on Indian students, but on any international students. So would you like to address that? And
two big questions in one. Thank you, Priyanka.
Absolutely.
I think the visa situation is challenging. Australia now has the most expensive visa fee in the world, the Western world. That's a fact, and that's something that we can't ignore in our day-to-day. And the way that we're responding is looking at ways we can make the wider experience more affordable through scholarships and other means for students. There is also a need for us to understand the universities that we partner with, what is their national planning level number, at what point do they hit an 80% threshold of that number, because that will dictate the visa speed with which their applications will be processed. And so there's a lot more communication now between Kaplan and its university partners, and then our pipeline of students who are applying, just so that we can manage expectations for students and not leave anyone with an unexpected surprise that interrupts their journey. The second part of your question was around, racism and sporadic occurrences of these idiotic, in my personal opinion, right-wing movements that have been cropping up elsewhere. Australians don't put up with idiots, that's for sure. And so I hope that I speak for all of us when I say if we were to witness anything like that going on, we would jump in and support our wonderful international students who bring so much to the Australian community. And there are idiots everywhere. You can't avoid that. But when you do know that you have Kaplan to rely on, all of the student support services and the security and the mental health support, whatever a student needs, if and when they come across such an experience. But if a student finds themselves in a position of any danger, just turn and walk away. Don't engage with these idiots who are refusing to educate themselves.
So there's idiots in many excuse the language, because it's inexcusable for a person to do that to another person. The most unfortunate thing is that those are isolated cases, and often it's not racially driven. It's just the angle of which the person who captured that moment tries to portray it in social media, and that's really damaging, right? Because everyone has an agenda, and they like to pinpoint certain sectors of the community and try to make a different story out of that. But in reality, for example, in Adelaide, I hardly see, or I have not seen anyone. I've started my life in Adelaide as an international student. I have raised my family. I have never experienced any racial things towards me or my children as well. And Adelaide specifically is Australia's most friendliest city. So, and with the students there, I've never had anything like that. Unfortunately, there are but isolated incidents which just flare up because social media has a tendency to do that.
Misinformation.
It's just misinformation.
We're living in a time of flux where people are feeling a lot of fear, and they're getting their information from many misinformed sources, and social media has a big role to play in that. And so my advice would be follow the official social media channels, be it an official news outlet like the Times of India, or be it the college or the university within which you're studying, and don't fall into that trap.
And be more discerning with the source of information. Like you said, Tom, just the trusted sources like Times of India, or scrutinize what they're seeing, because often they're AI or something. It's hard to tell the truth nowadays, so we just have to be more careful.
I think that's a very positive note to conclude the session. Thank you very much for taking out time and giving us comprehensive information. I think students will be really benefited out of it. Thank you very much, Tom and Alex, for joining us and giving us this valuable insight on Kaplan International College Adelaide, which is shaping up new opportunities for Indian students. For our listeners, we hope this conversation has given you a clearer picture of pathways and possibilities that studying in Australia can unlock. At Australia Beckons, we explore and spotlight the opportunities, journeys that inspire students to dream big. This is Priyanka Srivastav signing off. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep shining.